Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to FM23 Youth Factory. This is episode 28. So it's happened. The only player that we have sold that we did not get a 50% either or of the profit or just general sale fee, because he was the first one we transferred out. Ethan McLaren at 30% transfer fee. Well, we finally got our payday. It's only slightly more than what we were kind of holding out on. We were holding out on for a while just shy of 3 million. It bumped up to a 4 million. We end up getting 4.575. So it's not a massive fee. That is 30% of the 15 and a quarter that he was sold from Sheffield United to Watford for. So we do get a pretty healthy fee out of this. Right away, we get $4 million. Absolute huge payday for us. It's middle of January. We know that Trainer is going to be leaving us soon, but there's suddenly a large sum in the bank that we could be looking to do something with. We had training facilities just recently upgraded. I don't know if it's too soon to get on the next, but that is an obvious direction to go. We already have a stadium upgrade being planned. Minor upgrade. It's not a major upgrade, but at least that's already happening. So short term, we've got to figure out where to try to invest some of this money before the board just sweeps in and is like, hey, I'm filthy rich, but I want to be more filthy rich. So oops, poof, there goes money out of your account. Well, that's how the real world would work in this situation anyway. At the moment, board requests are not an option. It's still too soon on the training facilities, and that expand ground one is already in that planning phase and happening. So those were the only two directions we really have an option for besides requesting something regarding staff. And as we are a semi-pro and already have a large staff for the level that we're in, right now there isn't much to do in that department either. I actually have a coaching vacancy at the moment. It's nothing compared to the $4.5 million that we just picked up, but we do get $50K right up front for Donnell Trainer. But most importantly, we get our buyback, or not buyback, the percentage of the next sale and the loan back for the rest of the season. And speaking of those two stipulations, the percentage, the loan backs are not only something that I'm pushing for continually now. I'm going to lay those down as ground rules. The minimum security is brutal. Those two stipulations, though, make an absolute massive difference in this playthrough. They provide us the funding that we need to grow, and that puts us in a position to take the intake players that we have and see them develop rapidly. And if we're going to progress, we need rapid development. So one of the near targets for me is probably, and maybe now that we have the finances to do so, maybe going to a professional status. We get them training daily instead of twice a week, and they're going to progress a lot faster. And that could help us continue climbing that ladder, because the mass exodus is absolutely a thing. And if the exodus is faster than what we're getting intake-wise, we're going to be totally screwed. So at some point, we may even have to adapt to maybe a medium security. For now, the minimum security is there, but those two key elements, the loan back so you can still get the rest of the year, that is if it's January. Beginning of the year, not necessarily. If we're talking off-season kind of moves, we'll try for it. But the percentage, I think we can at least force that one. Over the last week, I have, in good faith, negotiated a transfer for Tom Fish. 4 teams in all came in with offers. Technically, he had a no transfer value at the start of this process, and they all came in with fees of varying ranges from 10K to up to about 40K, and then progressing slowly with one team in particular. What I was struggling with was what I had been telling you about moments ago, where I'm now pushing for the loan back, especially if it's mid-season, and some form of return on future transfer fee. At least at this stage where we're at this level. Because the transfer fees themselves are literal pennies on the dollar compared to the value of the club. But for the level we're in, usually a team should be, woo, yay, I'm so happy you offered me 30,000 for a player who's going to be in the Premier League. Right? It's just, no. We need to be making millions off of them eventually, because that is the value of the players that we are selling. Just not at our level because we're non-league, so semi-pro. So to ensure that the money is there eventually, to ensure that we have the players short term, that was the reason behind that. It's still minimum security. I have, in good faith, come to an agreement with Bournemouth. Bournemouth currently in the championship, I believe, and Bournemouth have offered us good value money-wise. I mean, ultimately, it's going to add up to being 100K plus. This is the biggest deal we'll have ever made on the upfront side. Also, 50% percentage of profit, not overall, but of profit. The loan back was the hard thing to get with these deals. A lot of these teams wanted to give us about 40% and profit only for Tom Fish. But the loan back, they were just not too keen on the loan back. They wanted him to be available right here, right now, as Tom Fish is considered by most to be a striker and 19 years old, and they wanted him to give them depth at the position immediately. I was desperate to have him play for us. We are in the middle of a title fight that is close, and we do not have the depth to just give players away. Eventually, I was able to negotiate down to a 4-month loan back, which gets us, just about to the end of the season, a couple weeks shy. And that was the tipping point. That got the deal over the line. It's morning of deadline day, so later today I suspect that he's going to be gone. Or is deadline day going to be one more day from now because it is a Sunday? It might be one more day from now. But either way, we're on the verge of deadline day, so this should be going over the line here pretty quick. Morning of the first, proper deadline day now, so it is, as I suspected, the first and not the final day of January just because of where the weekend fell. But now, Brentford, Burnley, Derby, Huddersfield, Norwich, one of the teams that was interested, back in on it, and Sunderland all have come in with good value offers. Now the key, of course, is going to be about the profit and the loan back options on whether any of these deals are going to be added to the list for him to negotiate with for today. But my guess is it looks like something's definitely going to happen. Though he is happy to stay at the club. So at this phase, Tom Fish is actually happy to stick with us. So it may or may not actually happen, but I'll go ahead and try to negotiate these and see what happens. At a minimum loan back of 4 months. That's now kind of the standard, and we're looking at, at this point I can accept the 50% profit because that is what we have in the deal in place. So that or better. Deadline day, afternoon, the other teams, none of them would give us the loan back option. But before we reach the end of the day, Bournemouth will sign, and yes, they are in the championship, Bournemouth will sign Tom Fish. So that's a third player that we've got leaving now at the end of the season. And our 10th since we started this. It's been 3 years to the month, or, January anyway. 3 years since we let Ethan McLaren go, our first player. We had him till the end of the season. Also, since that time, in the last 2 years, 9 players 9 players have left in just a 2-year span since that first deal of Ethan McLaren 3 years ago. Getting rough. It's getting hard. It's getting real hard to keep things progressing, but we are progressing, and with the finances that are coming in, we've continued to make progress. I really do think it's time to start thinking about that professional status. I don't know if the club would go for it at this stage, because we are X number of divisions away from kind of properly being. Most of the 6th tier is, or much of the 6th tier is professional. All but one club in the 5th tier is professional, something along those lines. But 7th and below, I don't know if any are professional. We're still 8th. It looks like we might be headed for the 7th tier. Let's go ahead and accept the deal. Tom Fish, the latest, out. Rough going on that part. Good fee though. The fees are getting better, and as we climb, that gets better and better. Professional status will help with that as well. It'll force them into making bigger offers. I think professional as 7th tier could go hand in hand for us. Not sure about 8th tier though. The finances we now have certainly suggest it, and I think that's our path to get players to progress fast enough to keep us climbing. And because if we're losing 3, 4, 5 players a year, those intakes, those replacements have to be coming in pretty rapidly. And I think to make that happen, the combination of growth of the facilities, yes, but I think getting the players training daily is going to be the key. Going back to the 23-24 season, that is when we had our first outgoing transfer. Now, of course, mixed in here with this is the minimum security, the players that left on freeze because we didn't have permanent contracts with them and whatnot that we were able to bring back thanks to the minimum security. But the first deal that we had to accept, the first deal for money, was Ethan McLaren. That was January of 2024. He's now since netted us, that additional $4.5 million. Huge deal on that part. He was the first one that left. A year later, same time frame, deadline day of now 2025, so the 24-25 season, Craig McDonald leaves us. He's going to be that next one that we're looking to cash in on, hopefully within the next year or so. You can see the number of players that all left on freeze went up by quite a bit at that point. And then last season came along, and this time it was 6 players. 6 leaving for a fee. Only 2. And this is where things have gotten a little bit easier on us. Now that we are semi-professional, we're not dealing with as much of those random team swoops in and takes away a player on a free. Now that we are semi-professional, not such a big deal. But now that we're semi-professional, and now that we're moving up and we've gained reputation, we're getting noticed more and more. Those with that 140, 150 potential ability players, one after another, are leaving us. So we lost 6 players a year ago. 3 of those during the summer. 3 of those were in January. But here's the thing about that one. 2 of those really were kind of in the lead up to this season. So we lost 1 the summer before. That was the first time we lost a player over the summer. We lost 2 more in January, so 3 more in January. That meant 5 total January losses out of 6. But then we lost 2 more that summer, officially bringing us into this year. Havidston, we lost over the summer. I actually didn't even bother to bring him back. He was a low quality player, low potential player, so we just let him go. But now Trainer and Fish, each technically this January. Fish, of course, 1st of February. We'll count that as a January transfer as it was just a Monday deadline. The fees have gone up. Overall, we lost 4 this year. We lost 4 a year ago, but 2 of those at the end of last season, before the start of this season. So we've really only lost the 2 this year. At least that helps. But we did get 1 of those summer ones back for another year on loan. So that's where I'll be a little more flexible. But when it comes to January deals, I really need those loan backs. So I will push. There would have been a third. Peter McFadden would have left us the young left fullback who's not as good as our right fullback. It wouldn't have hurt as much to lose, but we don't even have a backup at left back. That would be a real concern for us if we were to lose our left back now. There was enough of a deal there. The minimum security, technically, things would have kicked in. I would have lost him. Fish, though, we eventually were able to negotiate a deal that worked out, and you can see that the value much higher than anything we had previously. So as we are climbing, that is increasing now. We're starting to get 50 to almost 300K in deals up front. So that part's good. That part's starting to play out and be a factor. But most importantly is the loan back element for me, and of course the future fee element, and trying to get that to become some sort of investment, future investment for the club. By some accounts, you can call last season 4 players out and this season 4 players out, but realistically, as one of those was an immediate deal over the course of the summer there, the reality was we lost 5 players at the end of last season. We are losing 3 at the end of this season. So it's not a mass exodus, but it's definitely not good. The theme here, though, is players with 140 potential ability or above now being what is happening, where the players are going, where the offers are coming from. So let's check in on the team and see who has 140 potential ability or better. Let's start at the smallest level, the U18s. Not a single player here has a 101 or better, as Dashfield is literally the only one to even reach the benchmark, but right at the limit of that. The U21s have no one that are better. Hallam and Ken Lee, the last 2 holdovers from our original team, the only guys that actually developed it all. They've never done better than that 4-3. They're still only 21 and 20. They are leaving us this year. I'm going to be letting them go this year. All of the others are gone. Even they don't have that ability. No one else here best at a 98 potential ability. We have no U23s. That is a grayed out Lodi goalkeeper to fill in there. And then on to the senior squad. Quintafera has it. Trainer has it. Fish have it. They're all 150 plus, but we are getting offers for the 140 range now. McFadden, a 142. So the ones to watch out for next year. Gordon will probably leave us next year as that current ability comes up. McFadden seems like he's on the verge and he'll leave us next year, maybe this summer. But then also Wilkinson and Webb fall into that grouping. But that means there are 4 future players on the roster that we could expect to lose somewhere in the next year to 2 or 3 years. But that's it. That's it. I think we are starting to fall into a trap where the best ones that come in from each window, each intake, they will eventually leave us. But then it drops off. Now, will we fall into a 130 trap at some point? Kitching, Lanahan, Penreese, Mortland, Grigg. Oh, that would be funny if Grigg eventually loses us. That's that next tier of potential players that maybe, just maybe at some point, somebody will come along and offer enough. I'm hoping that seems to be about the end of it, and at some stage, especially if we get that professional status and we have the quality staff and we have the quality facilities, that we can churn out players that are close to a 100 ability, 115 ability, 120 ability, that don't leave the club. Can we maintain a core? Can we develop towards that potential? Can that core carry us through the levels and eventually see us get to League One kind of status, and maybe somewhere in that hang on to players that are a little better eventually, be able to keep them, change the minimum security at some stage. Right now I'm happy with the minimum security. It's the challenge we placed on this series. It is a challenge, but so far we've been able to overcome it. We're not stalling, so I have no intention of changing the rules beyond the retention factor. January loan back, not necessarily off-season loan back. If we can negotiate it, great. If not, so be it. But definitely the future fee, right? That is where you get the sustainability long term. You have the finances in place, you build a large stadium, you build those training facilities, and those can offset the fact that we are losing 3 to 5 key players every year. But with those 2 new deals for outgoing players, Quintafera is a center back. So backing him up, well, Chris Webb's already moved in. He is progressing, not rapidly, but he is progressing. He's certainly got potential. I think he will progress more rapidly in time, and he's actually starting to perform pretty well. 7.56 rating in the last 5 matches to now have a 7.18 for this season. He started off just below a 7 rating, but he's now picking it up and is progressing more rapidly. So things are starting to click for Chris Webb. Overall, the tackling has definitely emerged. The jumping reach is there. The heading itself isn't great, but the combination I think is just about working for him. He's clearly not our best center back. Kitching's going to end up in the lineup, so it's going to be Kitching and Webb next year. That's a worry as you go forward, because you're missing what was a great center back pairing to now the entirety of that is going to be gone. But he's brave, and we'll get there. We'll be okay-ish. Kitching's already a 60, so fine, he's thrust into the lineup, and that's going to be a key. We can replace that position. What I'm worried about is what's going to happen on top. We're losing our striker, and we're losing our attacking mid, so we're the 2 guys through the middle. What I don't have right now is replacements. Ryan Gordon can take over as our striker, because replacing him, Kasango Matumbo. But we do not have an attacking center mid. In the under-21s, Finn Coots. Is that what we're going to be stuck with now, going forward for a while anyway, until we have a proper replacement? It's certainly not going to be Clements. In fact, I think I have Clements on an expiring contract. He's one of a couple guys I'm planning on letting go. Kai Clark has not made any progress, so that's not a good option. Down in the under-18s, Northmore Bud seems like he is going to be a surefire bet to promote. And if we do lose McFadden, it looks like we have Dashfield as a replacement for there. But it looks like Marmon Ings is going to be that guy having to step up. But we're starting to get into some players that can step up that don't necessarily have the quality right now, but they have the potential to be replacements. And I think almost more importantly, they have the potential to be replacements that aren't going to attract the attention from the bigger clubs. And we might actually be able to retain them and eventually build a core of players that could stick around. And then you get those generational talents to come in a little less frequently, to be superstars, to be the ones to push us when we get to those higher levels, but not necessarily have to be, right? I think our key going forward is going to be to replace players with replacement level guys and not necessarily future stars. It's just getting them to grow and develop. That's going to be the key for this club to have a core of players that'll stay in place and see us climb through the ladder, and not necessarily the next superstar. I think that's going to be the next phase for this club, is getting replacement level quality players that we can retain. Meanwhile, in the league, we are down to 12 matches remaining in the season, and of course, this has to become the focus. we desperately need to promote this season to get us into that 7th tier. And I'm going to wait until this summer. If we win the league, if we promote automatically this year and get to that 7th tier, this summer, I'm ready. I think we need to make the push to be fully professional. The cost that's going to come with the increased cost is one that I'm now comfortable taking on. We had that huge cash injection, that $4 million. We have 9 other players with potential cash injections eventually. Now that money makes me feel secure about the finances, I feel comfortable in going to professional. Here's the thing about going to professional. The youth facilities that we have, the price, the cost of them on a yearly basis is going to suddenly be driven to a whole new level. I've experienced this in the past years of this one. The cost goes up to maintain it on a permanent basis, a daily basis, as opposed to a couple days a week. So semi-pro to pro, cost goes up a lot. We don't necessarily have the ability to pay for that. We could see ourselves losing money. But those 9 players, that near 5 million that we have, or over 5 million that we now have, I think. It's a little over 5 million. That 5 million we have in the bank, that 9-player set of future fees that we have to collect, it'll offset. It'll take care of the finances. So I think our finances are secure enough to afford it, but I'm going to wait till this summer. I think after we promote and become 7th tier, that's the time, because it's only one level below a lot of professional teams, and we might be able to get away with it as a 7th tier side. And that can be the difference maker to get these okay prospects to actually become good players and keep us promoting. Meanwhile, in the league, a 5-point lead with 12 to play is absolutely nothing in terms of secure. But we've been better and better as the season has gone on, as we've seen the development, and now having not lost any players immediately, I think we can and should see out the league. And not having the crazy match load being out of the other competitions, we should be able to see out the league over the next 12 matches. We should be able to continually win. I think we should win at least 10 of the 12 matches that remain, or at least 9 of the 12 matches that remain. And that should be enough, right? That's up to 9 points dropped. I think we'll drop less than that. I think it would be more like 2 ties and a loss, in which case we're looking at dropping maybe 7 points the rest of the way. We've got a 5-point cushion right now over everyone. Even Melksham is 7 behind. Everybody else is further than that. So assuming that they're all going to drop some points along the way as well and not win 12 from 12, there's a pretty good chance that we do take the league. That's what I'm hoping for. Now we've got to just see it out. As we enter February, we have Bournemouth FC. We just lost our 2nd player to Bournemouth. But this is FC. This is not the same Bournemouth. Bridgewater is 18th, and at home, there's FC Bristol. So let's go ahead and push forward 2 games. Let's play FC Bristol before we wrap this episode up with a remainder of season of 9 games after that to go. Let's see where we're at following FC Bristol. That's going to be our biggest test the rest of the way. That could be the put your foot down, and then it's cruise to the end of the season. Coming off 2 comfortable victories, we now have an 8-point lead in the league with now 10 to play. We'll be cutting that to single digits by the end of this match, and it's FC Bristol, top 2 clash. They are still 2nd, though they did drop some points over those 2 matches. Wilkinson, though he is available, but he is my 6th man normally because I have 2 left wings. Trainer gets the early goal, not even a minute played, and we are up 1-0. It's a home match here. FC Bristol, of course, is the team that is the closest thing to a rival that we've had of late because they promoted with us, and we are both still, for the 2nd year running, top 2 in the league as Trainer goes chicken wings on that one, and first shot of the game is a goal with the live play. Melksham currently drawing in their match happening at the same time. Finds Gordon inside. Gordon finds some space. Flashes at a cross goal. I'm not sure if he's trying to shoot. Plenty of power behind it. Melkshamtown leading in there, so they're now moving into second in the live standings at 9 points behind. Regardless of how that's all playing out, 9, 11, that's all a much bigger cushion than the 5 points we had just a couple matches ago. And like I said, the form and the matter of not losing any players immediately has put us in a much, much stronger position here. Easy ball to get to. 7-1 on the shots. That was the first shot that they had. It is considered on target, so it was inside the frame, not outside. Good recovery. Great tackle from Mortland. Lenahan Penreese cuts inside this time. Gives it off the fish. Gets it back. Gets Trainer on the overlap, but Trainer this time, his shot is blocked. Melkshamtown now just drawing as we hit halftime. 1.26 on the XG to a 0.03 total domination, but we've only managed to get one shot on target, which we put in the back of the net in the very first minute. This wouldn't seal the title fight by any means, but like I said, a 9, 10, 11 point gap at this stage with just 9 to play, with our form, with the improvement in the squad over the course of the season, with everyone healthy, with the lack of other competitions, I think really, really would go a very long way. Looked really iffy at the start of the year, but I did note then that, we will make progress. If we can just survive the early portion of the season without making too many mistakes, as the season goes on, we should be quite good. As the players get used to playing with each other and develop those relationships, we should be quite good. And that's exactly what has been happening this season. Now we've played an hour. Recovers ball. Now Penreese recovers ball. Over the top for Trainer. He's going to try to chip the keeper. I think keeper gets a piece on that one and sets up the defender who was helping. It wasn't headed in after the deflection. Anyway, you can see their attempts at long balls just aren't going anywhere. Gordon lays it off for Atkins. Great cross. Trainer wins that header from a less than advantageous position, yet he wins it. Now over the top, Trainer's onside. Deflected. Gordon taps it in. His 12th of the season, and that's good. No offside questions. That was all well played. McFadden with the long ball over the top for Trainer. Easily onside. He's a couple steps onside. Keeper gets a piece, deflects it wide, and the center back closing out. Gordon gets there first. Is able to slot it past him. Tight angle. Long ball. More. Onside. Goal. Out of nowhere against the run of play with just 10 minutes to go. They are back in this game. It started with a really good tackle from Lidkrowski. But great ball over the top. Moore controls it well. Beats Grigg well. McFadden. Oh, bad clearance from McFadden. No pressure there. Should have controlled, but his back was to goal. Nobody was communicating, probably on Grigg for that one, for not communicating to him that he can bring it down, bring it under control, turn, and clear the ball properly instead of just sending it out the sideline. Everyone's tired, but nobody's totally exhausted. And, okay, full-time wasting's already happening. Time is up. Now we just need the whistle. Thornhill wins that ball. Gordon keeping possession. Now Redknapp heading towards the corner. Finds Gordon inside. Atkins switches. Kitching Gordon in the box. Lays it off again. Wastes that time. Sees the clock out. There's the whistle. 3 points. Total domination to FC Bristol. Made it interesting late in the final 10 minutes, but we do see it out. They ended up with 2 more attempts, 1 more on target down the stretch. Grigg, of course, pushed that one out for a corner kick. We deserved to win by more than what we did, but good teams see it out when they or put under pressure, and that's exactly what we did here. Clash at the top goes our way. And the all-important, where is things with the league right now? 9 to play. 10-point advantage. Jersey Bulls jump to second. Melksham only get the draw. FC Bristol take the loss and drop from second to fourth. Taunton Town also struggling. So they are all within 2 points of each other. Huge gap behind them. Well, 8 points. Our gap is bigger than what they've got behind them. But Corsham Town have lost their ability to stay close. Buckland Athletic, Bournemouth FC have also fallen off. So we're now looking at 4 playoff teams pretty comfortably, pretty likely. It's really a battle for the home field advantage for the playoff, and everybody kind of lagging behind us. We also have that goal differential advantage as well. 10 points, 9 to play. That's more than a 3-loss cushion. We've only taken 2 losses this season. So it's starting to look very much in our favor. That is going to do it for this episode, though. We'll probably be wrapping the season up in the next episode with that kind of margin, with the transfer deadline behind us. The other competitions are done. So yeah, I think we're most likely going to be getting to the end of the season unless we all of a sudden lose to the next 2 in a row or something along those lines. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.